Hello everyone, fellow metal vinyl freaks, welcome back to the channel. Burzum, we are featuring them again after the Dead Somengan Var episode. Now it's the time of Aske to be included in this episode for the very last time because I sold the LP. Yes, this is another case of an LP which, in the intentions, was supposed to stay with me. But again, you know how it works when someone comes up with offers of like several thousands of euros. That's when I say, okay, no matter how much I like the LP, it can definitely go. I mean, this was my first introduction to the band and also the very last LP I sold by the band, which means I'm out of Burzum Records at this point. So don't ask me, are you still selling your Burzum vinyl? Because I sold them all. Incidentally, it's also my very last DSP release. I used to own the whole set of Deathly Silence releases, but not anymore, which means I'm now a rich man. Couple of words concerning its musical relevance. This is, in my opinion, one of the albums that stood the test of time better, considering Norwegian black metal. 1,000 copies pressed, year release 1993. I still remember the day when this LP got delivered by the mailman, which means there's a lot of, Madeleine Proust effect to it. It was in my second to last year of college, and I remember spending the remaining part of my afternoon completely dodging my late in class and instead spinning the LP like there's no tomorrow. I really, really love this LP, which was defined by Varg as the rock and roll album of his discography, which is a definition I can totally see the point of, because it does include some rocking riffs, and it's almost completely blast beat. I think it is blast beat, right? I don't remember one single blast beat on this record, but feel free to correct me, which is one of the reasons why I like it a lot. Samoth from Emperor played the bass on this album, and mind it was incredibly rare to find even at the time of its release. Nowadays, it's absolutely impossible without selling one of your kidneys, and it almost set a new record. For the most expensive album I have ever sold. It did not, because that title is still held by my former copy of Transylvanian Hunger, which I sold for a whopping 4,500 euro. But this one didn't go too far away from that, which, makes me think of a lot of things. Like, this video will be full of extra musical related thoughts and discussion, because with Burzum you can just possibly discuss music only, and that's the fact that I don't know, are people giving money the importance they should? Because when you're spending 3 or 4 thousand euro on a certain piece of music, I don't know, I live in a country where the average salary is like 1,400 euro per month, 1,500, maybe sometimes 1,600, but that's pretty much it. And mind you, my job is considerably better paid than that, so I mean, I certainly don't need records to make a living. But just like that, the thought that some people wake up in the morning at 6 a.m., work their ass off 9 days, 9 hours a day, 6 days a week, whatever, for a mere 1,400 euro, whereas I got 3 times as much just by selling a single bit of plastic. I don't know, it's kind of like it leaves a weird feeling, but I suppose that's what capitalism is all about. So it is what it is. It's a load of money. It's a hell load of money indeed. So yeah, my point is, no matter how much you like a certain LP, I think if the proper offer shows up, you should just take it, because at the end of the day, your collection will not be buried with you. That was what I thought until 5 or 6 years ago. I was really one of those collectors that thought his records would just come into the grave with him, but that's not how it works. Sooner or later, whether it's an asteroid hitting the Earth or the sun turning into a giant red star and devouring us all, Your collection, my collection, everyone's collections will be gone, so it's better to enjoy the records until we do and then just sell them for someone else to enjoy them and just keep the records in their cycle of life. They are bits of plastic, nothing lasts forever, or just like at the Gates said, all life ends at some point. Either you die or something will happen, and your precious Burzum record will not follow you forever. Also gotta say, this is probably just a general ranting, not sure how much of interest there must be to my words these days, but I also thought about another thing, like the older I get, the less materialistic I am. Not that I was ever a particular materialistic guy, definitely not, but somehow, especially, after having 3 years ago, I suffered a pretty serious health issue, which kept me away from the channel, and I that made me reconsider my approach to collecting, because, like, in the unfortunate event of me passing away, there's nobody in my family, in my circle of beloved ones, who has any clue of the insane value of some of these records. So if I die, I mean, let's hope that doesn't happen, but if I do pass away, there is there is a chance this whole collection will be just disposed by I don't know, recycling facility, which is perhaps not the right way to end such a almost 4 decades experience of collecting hundreds and hundreds of records. So yeah, man, this, as I said before, this way at least someone else will enjoy it, and I will have some huge sum put aside to be spent on other activities which make me happier, or just makes someone else happy, or just makes the world a better place to live. I haven't really decided how I will spend the money I'm getting from this whole collection selling thing. Probably buy a new flat, whatever. I already own one, but the second one will do me good. Probably moving to another country. I don't know. This is just me going completely random. What else did I want to say about this LP? Nothing other than that it's, if I had to rank it, again, a 10 out of 10 record. One of those albums that stood the test of time. I think it still sounds killer these days. Moving on to the non-musical discussion of things, which is impossible to avoid when discussing about a band like Burzum. Some of you guys complained about the fact that I'm actually featuring Burzum in my channel, because this could be a valid point. Like, since been very clear about it, this is an anti-fascist channel. How do you combine that with the fact that you are talking Burzum? Well, the fact is, first of all, a band like Burzum is so well established that it's ridiculous to think that a small channel like this can change anything about it. Like, it's not gonna lose the fans because of it, and it's not gonna gain new fans probably either. So it's discussing these kind of things is like discussing the news. Basically, it's all about the music in the first place, and the extra music comes as a natural second. It's if I had to concentrate on just safe bands, by that meaning metal bands which have no right-wing leanings, then I would say, like, I would probably not be able to come up with more than 10 episodes, perhaps, because that's unfortunately what extreme metal seems to be about. A lot of fascist bands around. This is no big news, of course. So yeah, what to say, really. Also, gotta say, this will probably surprise some of you, but I do respect Varg an inch better than other musicians from the very same scene. And don't get me wrong, I do not by any means justify his stupid actions. He's a fucking killer. He murdered a perfectly innocent human being. There should be no, and there will be no possible justification for whatever he did. His church burning BS is just a crime against art, and I am by no means supporting that. What I do give him, though, is the fact that he's very, very honest about his opinions. Like, he's not, like running circles around the fact that he's a Nazi, because that's what he is. He's always been very clear about it, which is something that doesn't really happen very often in the scene. There are a lot of musicians which share, I would say, like the very same views that he does, but are far too big pussies to talk about it. And you'll be surprised. Later on, I will mention a band which will probably surprise a lot of you. But yeah, I do think that at least he's very honest, like he has a stupid beliefs. I would never ever consider having a beer with him, mostly because I don't drink beer. Beer fucking sucks. I only drink fruit juice and cocktails with the pink umbrellas on it because I'm a certified poser. And also, I believe he's pretty straight edge, if I'm not mistaken. So, yeah, I mean, he will never be my friend. He will definitely be my foe and enemy. But just like that, I gotta give him some credit for never shying away from his own views, as delusional and as dumb as they might be. What I wanted to say is that a lot of musicians aren't like that because, for instance, like I'm a huge Asphyx fan, and I remember that a few years ago I was browsing the social media, the Asphyx members, and I stumbled upon the now former drummer of Asphyx, Bob Bacchus, and of course Asphyx has no known history of being a fascist band whatsoever. And somehow I stumbled upon this post by him. I'm not sure if you can see it. Focus, please. I'm trying to just get it on my phone. Does it focus? Not really. I'm too lazy to just edit. But anyway, this is a post by Bob Bacchus. I believe his account was nuked in the meantime, so I'm not really sure if it's still there. But he was spreading these anti-Antifa flyers or stickers, whatever they are, with a huge swastika on them. And of course, when some people question, yeah, I got some focus at the end. And of course, when people question about it, he was like, oh no no no, that's not a swastika. It's just supposed to provoke the leftist mama boys, the how do you call them, like the progressists, like they have this kind of like what they think are supposed to be offensive expressions to call us antifas. It's just completely delusional and immature way of approaching things. But yeah, I was spreading this stuff around now. He also expressed some support for an organization like Pegida, which I'm not sure if it's still existing these days, but it was a 100% fascist nationalist organization. So my point is, you can never. Where do you set the dividing line? Where do you draw the line? When it comes to supporting a band. In a case like Burzum, it's very clear, like the guy is very honest about his views. At least when you're buying a Burzum record, that you're supporting a Nazi. But with guys like that, how do you know? It's incredibly hard for me to give an answer to that question. I honestly don't have an answer to that question. I think that at the end of the day, everyone has to decide for himself. But yeah, this metal scene, this death black metal scene, is full of hypocrites. It's at least with Varg, there's no need to read between the lines. He's a fucked up individual and a political enemy. But yeah, he does deserve some credit for being pretty straight to the point, which is not a common thing in metal these days at all. There are, as I said, this Bob Bacchus individual, in my opinion, is a much bigger hypocrite, because he's, trying to hide his real views behind his cheap excuses, blaming leftist people for, supposedly not respecting his freedom of speech. Guys, let me open a parenthesis. There is no freedom of speech in the sense that of course, don't take this literally. Of course, there is a freedom of speech, but that doesn't mean that you're allowed to say whatever BS pops up in your brain. Like it's not like, freedom of speech doesn't mean you can just go out to your neighbor and call him a piece of shit and hope to get away with it, because there are some laws which are actually supposed to protect the freedom of others from your own freedom of speech, which means you will probably be called in and sued for slander. That's how it works. So whenever you're, commenting on my comment section, going like, bands should be allowed to, be Nazis because there's freedom of speech here and there, that's not how it works. There are laws against hate speech, whether you like it or not. That's how the, present civilization is built is built like. So yeah, I mean, it's the fact that some people refuse to believe that freedom of speech is not unlimited. You can't just, again, just coming up with random examples. You can't call anyone an SOB, for instance, and thinking you can again get away with it. There's no way. Or you can, in Europe, you can certainly try going to Europe, try going to Germany, for instance, out of all places, and claim that the Holocaust was a hoax. Chances are you will get some jail time. That's how it works. And if you think, that's like dictatorship, I mean, feel free to think so, but that's there's a big difference between, what freedom of speech is and complete anarchy. Anarchy, unfortunately, doesn't exist in a society like this. It's up to you to decide if it's a good or bad thing, but laws exist, and most anti-fascist people are there to just make, these laws against hate speech respected. Because guess what? It's getting harder and harder to have this such laws respected. But when a guy like that is so delusional and so idiotic to spread the flyers with swastikas and still has the guts to say, no, these aren't swastikas, it's really, can it possibly get more delusional? I mean, this is really so ridiculous. Like, these people disgust me way more than Varg, because they don't even have the balls to admit what they are and what kind of ideas they support. If you question them about this, they will always come up with some half-ass excuse, like as I said before, this isn't a swastika, this is just supposed to uh, provoke the leftist people and blah 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 and all that gibberish. So at the end of the day, if I have to answer my very own question, where do you draw the line? I have no idea. Personally, I can tell you what I do, but that's just my own personal interpretation of things. Whenever I see that there's a band whose views not necessarily expressed in records, it might be they might be expressed in interviews as well, all over their social media, on the internet, whatever. Wherever I see that a certain band member supports views that I deem as unacceptable, that's when I will stop supporting such a band. Then again, you can't possibly 100% coherent with your views. There are many exceptions to that rule. For instance, I'm a huge Malevolent Creation fanboy, so I've been since the very beginning, and I'm perfectly aware of the stupid beliefs that some of their members hold, especially one member, you know exactly which person I'm talking about. So yeah, I do have some contradictions. It's inevitable. You just can't possibly avoid them when you're listening to a music like metal. In my case, I moved out to metal for the most part, so like this problem doesn't even regard me anymore. And also at the same time, you can't possibly confess a band. Like, it's not like you can question individuals about their political beliefs all the time. So my opinion, yeah, the best thing you can do is just try to read their interviews and make up your mind for that, and at the end of the day you decide if they are worth your money or not. For instance, I'll give you another example of some metal personality which really disappointed me, because he used his popularity to influence fans on certain given argument, on certain given topics. Sorry, who is Bruce Dickinson from Iron Maiden. Do you remember when the UK was asked to was being asked to, stay or leave the European community, and he had this video in which he was talking all sorts of bullshit about the European community, which might be flawed, but it's still, an institution which granted you 80 years of peace and a free market. And guess what? I believe that a lot of fans, like the vast majority of Bruce Dickinson Iron Maiden fans, voted pro, like in the sense of having the UK leave, better England, leave the European community, which in hindsight was a very stupid move because it turned out as a disaster for the economics of that one country. And that's also when, I tend to. When a person exploits his own personal popularity among fans to, force feed them his own personal political things, that's when I just lose most of my respect for this kind of people. It's that simple, so yeah. So at the end of the day, how to close this long rant, I don't know. As I said before, it's up to everyone to decide. You can't possibly be 100% coherent with this kind of things, but it's much better to at least try to be coherent than just don't give a flying fuck like most people are doing. Some people are just going like, I only care about the music. They might be singing all they care, all they want about. That's, in my opinion, not the right approach. So, I mean, that's the best possible answer I can come up with. Also, it works like that in pretty much every art field. For instance, I'm a huge fan of Klaus Kinski, who is probably my very favorite actor. Nosferatu by Werner Herzog is my all-time favorite movie, which explains also why I'm letting my nails grow this length, because I want them to be as long as Klaus Kinski's in that one movie. He was, a child abuser. If we have to believe the horrible tales that his daughters reported, he was a fucked up individual. So what do you do? Like, aren't you watching Herzog movies anymore? I mean, it's, from whatever angle you try to look upon it, this is an incredibly tough topic, and I think that everyone has to decide for himself how to act. Again, in my case, I try to be as straight to the point as possible, because I do believe that your hard-earned money, you work a lot for it, and it deserves to end up in the pockets of people who actually deserve it, rather than in the hands of mentally challenged individuals, which will use them to, I don't know, finance stupid projects, or even worse, like criminal ideas. That's pretty much all I had to say about Burzum. I think I will not come back to this band because, as I said before, this was the last LP in my collection, so pretty much done with this band. I will probably not need to acquire the records, because I still own these CDs. If I'm ever in the mood for some Burzum, I have the original CDs still in my collection. Unlikely to happen, because as I said before, my black metal days are pretty much over, but that's pretty much, that should put the word end to Burzum, at least. In the next episodes, I will call out other fascists in the scene, because that's, I said it in a previous video, that's one of the issues, that's one of the goals actually of this channel, to, try to make people question their own beliefs about bands, music, whatever, or just have some plain discussion about politics, which is one of my favorite things to do. And just like that, I always close every episode asking you, what are your personal thoughts about this whole thing, about this whole rant? Do you share these ideas? Do you think only music matters? Do you even support the ideas of this NSBN bands? Let me know down in the comments what you honestly think. As usual, I'm asking you to be kind, but somehow every request falls deaf on the ears of people listening to my words, because every time I post a video like this I have to ban shit tons of people just like that. But I don't care, like, it's my channel, I do whatever the hell I want. I'm perfectly fine with having 2,000 followers. I mean, if I would like, be less strict about this kind of things, I would probably, have my Instagram page reach 20,000 people easily, but that's not the point of this channel or the Instagram page associated to it. It's just about being honest to myself and to yours, considering the quality of the music I'm reviewing and the ideas of the bands and the individuals behind such music. So guys, that does it. Long rant, 25 minutes. Till the next time, keep it loud and heavy as always.